Hi, everyone. My name is Rebecca Lee, and I serve as Deputy Director of the White House Initiative on Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders, or what we call WIOMPI.
And I'm Hannah Bristol, Senior Advisor in the White House Office of Public Engagement. The White House Office of Public Engagement is honored to co-host this event with WIOMPI.
This AANAPISI week, we celebrate the 15th anniversary of Congress establishing the AANAPISI program. AANAPISI stand for Asian American and Native American Pacific Islander Serving Institutions. AANAPISIs are so critically important in supporting and promoting the success of underserved Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander students.
As federally designated minority-serving institutions, AANAPISIs play a unique role in attending to the unique needs of low-income first-generation AA and NHPI students. There is tremendous opportunity to advance education equity for AA and NHPI students through the AANAPISI program, and the Biden-Harris administration is committed to continuing to invest in AANAPISIs and in the growth and success of low-income first-generation AA and NHPI students.
Today, we look forward to being joined by administration leaders, elected officials, as well as leaders in education and students and graduates of AANAPISIs as we celebrate the program's progress over the past 15 years and look toward the continued success of AANAPISIs in advancing education equity for AA and NHPIs. We hope you enjoy the program.
Aloha, y'all, and happy Asian American and Native American Pacific Islander Serving Institutions Week. We are so proud to celebrate all AANAPISIs and the essential role they have provided in educating and supporting our students and learners. This deputy position that I'm honored to serve in was created last year about this time so that there's a member of the President's senior staff acting as the voice in the West Wing to lift up the perspectives of our AA and NHPI communities in all of our administration's policies and stakeholder outreach and engagement. As the incumbent, I'm charged with making sure that the richness and diversity of our communities are not made invisible and that the impacts of the administration's policies are inclusive of, informed by, and communicated back to our communities. All with the support of a president and vice president who made clear their commitment to empowering and uplifting AA and NHPI individuals, families, and communities since their first days in office. Although they are often referred to collectively, Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander students are far from a monolithic group. Some arrived as refugees seeking asylum. Others came to this country to pursue higher education, while others yet have resided here for more than a century. Thinking of AA and NHPI students as one big group masks our vastly different experiences in the higher education journey. A recent California report demonstrates the importance of disaggregating data to really look at all of the components of our beautiful and diverse community. It shows that our Southeast Asian and Pacific Islander students need extra help to succeed academically, and there's a significant achievement gap that exists. This is why we praise AANAPISIs for making our students' voices heard. They recognize the diversity within AA and NHPI communities and continue to improve programs and policies to effectively support students. As we celebrate the 15th anniversary, we understand that their work continues. There's a need for more research to better understand AA and NHPI students and how AANAPISIs can engage underserved students. Our students were under tremendous stress due to COVID-19 and the rise in anti-Asian incidents and social media impact on mental health, in addition to academic pressure these days. I encourage you to continue to support our students. Each of you have something to contribute, whether it's in the classroom or at home. Mahalo for the opportunity to share this space with you today. I would now like to introduce our next speaker, Undersecretary James Quall of the Department of Education. Thank you.
Hi, I'm James Quall, and I'm the Undersecretary of Education at the U.S. Department of Education. I'm honored to join with you today in celebration of the 15th anniversary since Congress established the AANAPISI designation. On behalf of Secretary Miguel Cardona, I congratulate all the higher education students, leaders, staff, and advocates represented here today on this milestone. 281 colleges and universities qualify as AANAPISIs, representing 8% of institutions across all sectors of higher education. That number may seem small, but the impact you have on students' lives is immeasurable. I've seen it firsthand. At the University of Illinois Chicago, I met students who said that for the first time in their lives, they felt that their identities were not just tolerated, but championed. And at Sacramento State, I met young people who came from diverse backgrounds, many first-generation college-goers, who decided to pay it forward by staying on as staff to help future students succeed. More than 24 million people representing over 50 different ethnic groups and speaking over 100 languages, comprise our nation's Asian American and Pacific Islander community. For AANAPISIs, serving diverse students means addressing the unique barriers that often impede their success. For example, we know that Asian American students have the highest enrollment rates in developmental education courses in their first year of college, and Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islanders have some of the lowest rates of educational attainment. Beyond the isolation and financial uncertainty, too many Asian American and Pacific Islander students have encountered COVID-related racism, violence, and harassment that have weighed on their mental health. The Biden-Harris administration has invested a historic $5 billion to help AANAPISIs recover from the pandemic and to help students overcome these challenges. We're also proud to have secured an additional $5 million in Title III funding for your institutions in 2022. This July, we awarded $20 million to 11 AANAPISIs to help meet the basic needs of their students, from expanding mental health services to addressing food and housing insecurity. President Biden has called for even greater investments in his 2023 budget, including hundreds of millions of dollars for minority-serving institutions to expand their research capacity and promote student success in STEM fields. We're also making record investments in affordability. We secured the largest increase in Pell Grants in a decade, and we're calling on Congress to double it by 2029. We've announced historic student debt relief for low and middle-income borrowers, and we're cracking down on for-profit colleges that too often prey on students from underserved backgrounds. The Biden-Harris administration is working to build a more equitable, inclusive, and affordable higher education system, and supporting the success of AANAPISIs is central to this effort. Today, we celebrate all that AANAPISIs have achieved since their recognition 15 years ago. I can't wait to see what you accomplish in the next 15. Thank you.
Hafaday, I'm Robert Underwood, President Emeritus of the University of Guam and former member of Congress from Guam to the U.S. House of Representatives. During my tenure as CAPAC Chair, the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, we introduced legislation that created the AANAPISIs. And so on this 15th anniversary of the AANAPISIs, I want to congratulate everyone associated with them, administrators, academics, personnel, staff personnel, and especially students who've had their opportunities extended to achieve more in higher ed and to achieve higher graduation rates. During this past decade, Asian Pacific Americans are the largest demographic group, fastest growing group in the nation. This means that AANAPISIs need to be enhanced, need to grow exponentially. So please support AANAPISIs and legislation, and please reach out to all those universities and colleges that have AANAPISIs. There's many reasons to support AANAPISIs. Of course, there's equity. It extends opportunities to students who normally don't have it. But more importantly, it fulfills their potential. And as it fulfills their potential, they can contribute to a stronger America. And that's why AANAPISIs are not just a force for equity, they're a force for national strength. I've had many years of experience in higher ed, and when you look into the eyes of young people and you see that in their eyes they see their future, their country, and their potential, then you know that these are the sinews that bond a great society, and these sinews are made come to life in higher education. So for all of you in AANAPISIs, congratulations for your work, keep up the struggle, and let's move forward again together.
Hello, I'm Congressmember Judy Chu, Chair of the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus, or what we call CAPAC, and I'm so thrilled to be joining you all to celebrate the 15th anniversary of the Asian American and Native American Pacific Islanders Serving Institutions, or AANAPISI program. I want to thank the White House Initiative on Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders, and the White House Office of Public Engagement for the invitation and for your important work organizing this event to raise awareness of AANAPISIs and to support our communities. All too often, our community is stereotyped as a model minority, implying AAPIs do not face the same educational obstacles as other communities. But this is simply not true. Significant disparities exist between AAPI subgroups. For example, 20% of Hmong, 27% of Laotians, and 25% of Cambodians do not complete high school. and only 19% of Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders have attained a bachelor's degree. These statistics are exactly why Congress created the AANAPISI program 15 years ago, to improve access to education for AA and NHPI and low-income students. And since its creation, AANAPISI institutions have enabled thousands of these students to obtain a college degree. In fact, right now, these institutions enroll over 40% of all Asian American and NHPI undergraduate students in the United States. That is a significant portion of our population. And that is why we in CAPAC have made it a top priority to ensure equitable funding for the AANAPISI program. We have consistently advocated for increased funding for them through our annual appropriations requests. And I'm proud to tell you those efforts have been successful, resulting in nearly double the funding level for AANAPISIs this year. And we will continue to fight for increased funding in any attempt to reauthorize the Higher Education Act. I'm also proud to introduce a congressional resolution each year to recognize AANAPISI Week and highlight how these institutions have enabled thousands of AA and NHPI students to pursue their dreams of obtaining a college degree. But more importantly, my annual resolution encourages eligible institutions to obtain an AANAPISI designation so that they may apply for the funding available to them. This is so critical because although there are 199 institutions eligible for AANAPISI designation, as of the 21-22 school year, only 50 of them have been funded. So we still have a lot of work to do, and you can count on CAPAC to continue to fight for increased support until all of these eligible institutions are able to get the funding they deserve. So thank you again for inviting me here today to commemorate the 15th anniversary of the AANAPISI program. I look forward to our continued work together to strengthen this program and to ensure that all students, including AA and NHPI students, have access to higher education. Thank you.
Aloha, I'm Senator Mazie Hirono, and I'm glad to be with you to celebrate the important work Asian American and Native American Pacific Islander serving institutions, AANAPISIs, do every day. I was proud to co-sponsor the bill creating the AANAPISI program back in 2007, and I'm so glad to see how far we've come in the years since. Over the past 15 years, this program has helped institutions across our country expand opportunities for Asian and Pacific Islander American students. These institutions play a unique role in supporting APIA students as they pursue higher education. They help build community by connecting students from diverse backgrounds, and they provide culturally competent supports to help ensure students have the tools they need to succeed. It's no wonder that even though AANAPISIs make up just 6% of all colleges and universities in the U.S., they enroll nearly half of all API students in the country. But despite this critical role, these institutions are still funded at lower levels than other minority-serving institutions. My colleagues and I in Congress are working to change that. I'm glad that this year our appropriations bills include record funding for APIA serving institutions, nearly doubling the federal funding provided last year. This is important progress, but our work is far from over. I'll continue working to support API students and the schools that serve them. I'm grateful for your leadership in this critical work, and I look forward to our continued partnership to help ensure every student has the opportunity to thrive. Aloha.
Good afternoon. I'm Congressman Mark Takano. I represent the 41st District of California, and I'm proud to serve as second vice chair of the Congressional Asian Pacific American Caucus. I'm delighted to speak to you during AANAPISI Week, and celebrating this exciting 15-year anniversary of the program with you all. For a decade and a half, the AANAPISI program has provided critical funding to Asian American and Native Hawaiian Pacific Islanders, serving institutions of higher education across the country. This funding is used to support the recruitment, retention, and graduation of low-income and first-generation AA and NHPI college students and offers the opportunity for these students to thrive. Current AANAPISI grant recipients from community colleges to four-year institutions are implementing important programs to promote student success. Tutoring services, advising and mentorship programs, seminars for financial literacy and career development, and an expansion of the AA and NHPI curriculum are just a few examples of the creative ways that these institutions are using their funds to ensure that AA and NHPI students excel. I am thrilled to have witnessed the growth of this program throughout its history. AA NHPIs are the fastest growing racial group in the nation and are attending college in increasing numbers, although these students are frequently overlooked in data collected on race and diversity. The establishment of the AANAPISI program was a significant and necessary step in recognizing the diverse needs of the AA NHPI population and ensuring that they are met not only from a socioeconomic standpoint, but also through language support systems and greater curricular inclusion. I currently lead the appropriations effort to fund the AANAPISI program in the House of Representatives every year, and am proud that one of my own local institutions, the University of California, Riverside, is a recipient. The AANAPISI program has proven particularly vital in the last few years. During the COVID-19 pandemic, AA NHPI students faced waves of challenges. Not only was their education disrupted, as it was for all college students, but hate crimes and anti-Asian violence surged across the nation. AANAPISI funds were directly allocated to universities that presented comprehensive plans to support their AA NHPI students and staff, and millions of dollars were allocated to fund mental health services and academic support. Current statistics show that only 2 out of 10 AA NHPI students who need mental health support receive treatment on campus, and this funding seeks to make those resources more easily accessible and culturally competent. This week, let's celebrate the 15 years of success that the AANAPISI program has achieved by supporting colleges and universities in serving their AA NHPI students. I applaud the critical work that these institutions do to ensure that their student bodies reflect the diversity of the United States. I urge my colleagues in Congress to build on that progress to ensure that the AANAPISI program, along with other funds to minority-serving institutions, continues to grow. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Crystal Ka'ai, and I serve as the Executive Director of both the White House Initiative on Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders, or what we call WIOMPI, as well as the President's Advisory Commission on Asian Americans, Native Hawaiians, and Pacific Islanders. As part of our celebration to commemorate the 15th anniversary of the creation of the AANAPISI program, we are honored to be joined today by 2 members of higher education institutions to talk about the critical importance of AANAPISIs in addressing the unique needs of low-income first-generation AA and NHPI students. Dr. Rowena Tamanong is the president of San Jose City College, which is a designated AANAPISI institution, and she has been a multicultural educator in the California community colleges for over 25 years. Dr. Mike Hua Nguyen is an assistant professor of education at New York University. His research and teaching critically examines the benefits and consequences of the AANAPISI program and how it shapes access, learning, opportunity, and success within and beyond schools for students of color. Thank you both for being a part of today's panel. My first question will go to Rowena. Rowena, can you talk a little bit about your experience as a president of an AANAPISI and how that impacts the work that you are doing?
Thank you so much for this question, Director Kai, and thank you to the WIOMPI's leadership in celebrating AANAPISI Week and the 15th anniversary of AANAPISIs as a federal minority serving designation. Now to your question. So I've been a president of 2 AANAPISIs, in California, Berkeley City College and now San Jose City College. Both colleges are dual designated and are also Hispanic Serving Institutions, or HSI. This has given me tremendous opportunity to build structures of student success supports for the two fastest growing student demographics in higher education in California. The work has involved both academic and student services programs, such as developing culturally responsive curriculum, pedagogy, and student services to increase academic outcomes. I see my leadership role in implementing the college's vision for advancing educational equity for AANAPI students. This means increasing access to higher education for low-income first generation, and for community colleges, this spans traditional students right out of high school and also older adults, many who are recent immigrants to the United States. As a first-generation Filipina from the Philippines, I myself experienced the difficulties and challenges of navigating higher education because my parents were working all the time. And so the experiences of our students really resonate for me, and this drives my work.
Thank you so much, President Tamanang. We really appreciate your insight and just that personal story too about how, again, your identity really shapes and influences the work that you do today. And I think this goes, I think, really well. I'm going to go over to the next question, Professor Nguyen. Just, we know oftentimes the Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander community is painted as a model minority, and there's a misconception that AA and NHPI students do not need the same support in educational spaces as other communities of color, when we know that is in fact not true. So can you respond to some of these misconceptions and speak a little bit more to why it is so critical that AANAPISIs provide educational support to our students?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here today. And also thank you to the White House Initiative for Asian Americans and Native Hawaiians and Pacific Islanders, as well as the Biden-Harris administration for their commitment to our communities. And that's right. So the model minority myth is a really harmful and highly problematic stereotype that's really long plagued our communities for quite some time. It assumes that we're all a monolith, that it erases our diverse and complex histories, our experiences, and of course, our access to education and educational attainment, right? It assumes that we're universally successful and in many cases doing exceptionally well, thus not requiring any attention or any resources. And I think the rise in anti-AA and NHPI violence clearly shows that this isn't the case, right? And decades of research from our communities and from academics in our communities have empirically demonstrated the exact opposite of the model minority myth. And certainly more work is necessary in being done today. There are many approaches to responding to and dismantling this pervasive stereotype. I think AANAPISIs really are an ideal vehicle to challenge this misconception. They are a federal program that is specifically and affirmatively focused on serving the needs of Asian American and Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander students. And in doing so, really it means that colleges and universities are confronting and responding to this model minority myth, right? Our research shows that this is happening and they're doing this work on their campuses. At some institutions, this means conducting disaggregated needs analysis to see which subgroups are on campus and the challenges that they face. I think for colleges and universities that meet eligibility requirements, they should seek out and apply for this funding. Becoming an AANAPISI really means that institutions have access to federal resources to develop initiatives on campus, which we know yields positive benefits and outcomes, but at the same time works to address this harmful misconception.
Much, Mike. And yes, absolutely. The importance of data disaggregation and really understanding the unique and diverse needs of our community is certainly something that we understand has been a challenge historically, and something that the Biden-Harris administration is very committed to addressing in terms of understanding so many of those inequities. President Tamanang, can we learn a little bit more? I just wanted to hear a little bit more about your experience, as an AANAPISI president. How, in your opinion, has being an AANAPISI designated institution contributed to advancing educational equity for AA and NHPI students on your college campus?
Another great question. So for both Berkeley City College and San Jose City College, the AANAPISI designation catalyzed both of these institutions that I led to focus and do an inventory on how we were serving our AANAPI students. And we needed to delve deeper into our student success data, course retention, looking at persistence, looking deeply at time to transfer, and also degree and certificate completion. Advancing educational equity for AANAPI communities, to me, is also about the college debunking the model minority myth that Dr. Nguyen just talked about, that all Asians academically achieve because of our work ethic. I've had many AANAPI students over the years tell me that they continue to struggle with writing, math, and their science courses. Some, like myself, even gravitated away from the STEM fields and moved into the humanities because we had difficulty in accomplishing those early math classes in the general education pattern. Being an AANAPISI has also pushed my current institution, SJCC, and our research team to disaggregate the data so we could drill down on how specific subpopulations of our East Asian, Southeast Asian, South Asian, and Pacific Islander students, how they're doing. So for example, we discovered that our Filipino students, both male and female, had lower transfer rates and were underrepresented in our career education programs. As a result of the data, my office formed an AANAPI Student Success Task Force to review and discuss research on the barriers and challenges AANAPI students experience. We also explored high impact and effective practices that would improve how we served our students, including diversity, inclusion, and equity and anti-racism practices to increase sense of belonging and improve campus climate. And I'm sure Dr. Nguyen would agree that the research does tell us that improving campus climate and sense of belonging really leads to student retention, persistence, and success. Also, just to underscore the points that he made, DEIA and campus climate work is especially critical right now as our communities continue to experience xenophobia and anti-Asian motivated hate crimes and violence. And even today, we continue to increase our mental health services supports for our students because we continue to see on the news media, incidents continuing to happen across the United States.
Thank you for that. And, just really appreciate both of you, President Kamanang, as well as Dr. Nguyen, for sharing that, just really how critical these investments, these federal dollars, are in terms of creating an environment for AA and NHPI students to thrive, especially given the alarming rise in anti-Asian violence and hate we have seen over the course of the pandemic. Dr. Nguyen, the next question is for you. I wanted to ask, why do you think that the AANAPISI program is so critical to promoting the success of our students? And I know we touched upon this a little bit, and President Tamanang gave some really great examples, but I just wanted to hear, in your opinion, what are some of the ways in which AANAPISIs really help to promote the success of our students?
Yeah, so without a doubt, I think that the AANAPISI program demonstrates that there's a federal commitment to the educational access, opportunity, and success of AA and NHPI students. Since they were established in 2007, right, we've seen a really significant increase in the number of colleges and universities that have become eligible for an AANAPISI funding, right? That's it's 81% growth in the past 4 years alone. So AANAPISIs really only make up 6.1% of all colleges and universities in the country, but they enroll over 40% of all Asian American and Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander undergraduates in the nation, right? That's it's very impressive, right? They award nearly half, so 49.4% of all associate's degrees, and just over 1/3 of all baccalaureate degrees for our students. All right, that's some 250 schools out of 4,000 that are doing this. So In the past, I used to say that AANAPISIs are the backbone of post-secondary education for Asian American and Native Hawaiian and Pacific Islander students, but today clearly they are so much more.
So much for that. We know that there are actually nearly 200 institutions of higher education that are eligible for AANAPISI designation in this country, and yet only 30 currently receive AANAPISI grants. So my next question is for you, President Tamanang. What advice do you have for fellow higher education administrators who want to learn more about the AANAPISI program and may be interested in potentially applying for designation and funding in the future?
Yes, thank you. So I actually have two pieces of advice for my educational administrator colleagues. So the first one actually is about getting engaged, getting involved, doing the work of taking initiative and learning more, and outreach to organizations such as WIONPI, APIA scholars, Asian Pacific Americans in higher education, and others within your specific state to advocate also for increased funding for AANAPISIs. I think one deterrent for the 199 institutions is that it's very competitive and then with limited funding. And so I think working together and amplifying the stories of our AANAPI students, would help support increased funding for what is still a relatively new minority serving institution designation relative to our Hispanic serving institution, brothers and sisters institutions, tribal colleges and universities, and also our HBCUs. I also want to encourage my colleagues that despite not having any funding right now, that we as institutional leaders can embrace our AANAPISI identities. We can take a look at what we have in our institutions and consider reallocating or refocusing existing resources to support our underserved AANAPI students. You can also leverage institutional strengths, such as if your institution has faculty in ethnic studies teaching Asian American studies, Pacific Islander studies, and with our faculty, we could support them in increasing faculty professional development in culturally responsive curriculum and pedagogy, which we also know leads to AANAPI student success.
Thank you so much for sharing that really insightful advice. And I think that's a really great point that, not only is it the funding that's critical, but also regardless of whether or not the funding is there, having that designation and being able to support students on campus and faculty as well, I think is really critical. So thank you for sharing that. Dr. Nguyen, you've done a lot of research on the AANAPISI program, and we are here celebrating its 15th anniversary. So it is still fairly new compared to other minority serving institutions. And so in your opinion, over the past 15 years, what are some of the successes of the AANAPISI program that you are seeing in your research that we've seen since the founding of the program in 2007?
Thanks so much for that great question. And some of the things I share might be repetitive of what President Tamanang just shared, but really worth highlighting and mentioning more than once. So thanks for the opportunity to talk about some of the successes that we've seen at AANAPISIs in the past 15 years, right? There's been so many positive benefits and outcomes. We've seen sort of at the most understood level of student success, increased retention, persistence, transfer from a community college to a university, and of course, graduation rates and degree completion rates. It's helped in all of those areas. But we've also seen students become much more engaged on their campuses and in their communities, increased civic engagement, new opportunities to build out their resumes through internships, both on campus and in the communities with nonprofit organizations or community-based organizations, and in other cases, internships in the private sector. We're also seeing that due to a really specific design and particular attention to AA and NHPI students' lived experiences, there's positive benefits with regard to leadership development, identity development, and something that we've been mentioning throughout today, increased sense of belonging for our students. I think back in May, during AA and NHPI Heritage Month, the Asian American Foundation released their annual index report, which show that college-age students have much lower levels of sense of belonging in our country compared to everyone else. Really, that's a really troubling statistic. But what we do know is that AANAPISIs, they are a solution to addressing this problem and also tackling so many of the other challenges that our students face. And so, as we sort of celebrate this 15-year milestone, I'm just really optimistic because more and more colleges and universities are becoming AANAPISIs, and they have been and they will continue to enhance the educational opportunity and experiences by serving and supporting our students.
Thank you to both Dr. Nguyen and Professor Tamanong for joining us and sharing your insights on the AANAPISI program. Next, I will turn it over to Sheetal Shah, my federal colleague from the Department of Education, to moderate our next panel.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sheetal Shah, and I serve as Senior Advisor for Partnerships at the U.S. Department of Education. Thank you for joining us for a panel highlighting the students of AANAPISIs. We have two students to talk about their experiences and why these experiences are so important in supporting AA and NHPI students. Keku Keaolili is a second-year student at the University of Illinois, Chicago, studying English and Global Asian Studies. She is also the Pacific Islander Student Outreach Coordinator and serves on the Chancellor's Committee on the Status of Asian Americans. Thank you for joining us today, Keku. And secondly, we have Gabe Shannon, a recent graduate from the University of Massachusetts, Boston, where he was a transfer student and majored in English. He is currently an academic career advisor for UMass Boston. Thank you, Gabe, for joining us as well. So I'm going to kick us off with a question for each of you that I would like for the both of you to answer. And then I'll go into some more specific questions for each of you individually. So I'll start with you, Keku. How is attending, and Gabe, how is attending an AANAPISI contributed to your college experience? Keku, do you want to start us off?
Well, my college experience at an AANAPISI school so far can be described as entirely positive. And immediately I saw a lot of diversity on campus, which is one of the aspects that was important to me when I was researching colleges. I grew up in a pretty big East Asian and Pacific Islander community on the island of Oahu, so I really liked that UIC had expanded that diversity with a bigger South Asian and West Asian population. And also one of the programs that AANAPISI supports that had a major impact in my college experience was the Global Asian Studies program. I was able to take Global Asian Studies courses one last spring to this fall, and I had just an amazing time in my first class and met some great people, enjoyed all the topics and conversations we had. And so the fact that GLAS is like the first program to integrate Asian studies and Asian American studies in the Midwest, it just made the option to like major in GLAS definitely more appealing in that regard, considering that I was undecided in my first year.
Great, thank you. Gabe?
For me, the AANAPISI program at UMass Boston has helped me become like just a much more well-rounded student and a well-rounded person and a leader in general. It's given me a sense of community that I didn't even know that I was missing. I'm a Korean adoptee, so it was hard for me to feel like I really had a place in an Asian community or in a white community either. So being in the AANAPISI program is huge for me because you feel so represented by the staff and the people you meet. Just having a group of people who I could really rely on to understand me from both a cultural and a human perspective made it just a lot easier for me to navigate student life and adult life as well, because they're there for you for not just academics. Like they're there to talk to you about your struggles you're going through, your family struggles, finances, whatever. So, what AANAPISI has been for me is just like a holistic support system that's tailored towards the unique experience of Asian Americans whose needs and struggles are often overlooked or misunderstood, I think, due to the belief that all Asian Americans are high achievers and that we don't need extra help. So that's how it's been huge for me.
Great. Thank you both for sharing. And this is, I think, follows up kind of well to what you both just shared. How is your AANAPISI office able to address your needs as an AA and NHPI student? If you can give some concrete examples, that'd be great.
Well, as an AA and NHPI student, well, I'm both Japanese and Native Hawaiian. So in terms of education, I am able to study like global Asia from in intersectional social justice and like in community engaged framework. And GLASS is like an interdisciplinary study of Asia from a transoceanic and transnational Asian diasporas, which is just like great for me in that regard. As a Native Hawaiian, I was connected to a nonprofit Hawaiian Cultural Center in Chicago, and that has just been a place for me to build community relationships with Hawaiians in the city.
Thanks, Gabe.
For me specifically, my experience, like my needs as an Asian American student, I was sort of looking to get connected to some sort of Asian community because I've been lacking that for my entire life. So basically for me, like for a long time, I had rejected my own identity as an Asian person, as an Asian American, because I was just very uncomfortable dealing with the racism and stereotypes that were associated with being Asian American just amongst my peers growing up. You know, obviously the expectations that people have for you, you know, they think you're going to be like a nerd or really good at math, or like you're weak, you're quiet, or like you're the butt of the joke, and like you don't really speak up for yourself. So, you know, you end up feeling, or for me at least, like I would grow up feeling like ashamed to be Asian, and then, you know, there weren't many people that ever looked like me in my community, so it's hard to feel proud to be Asian American. So I had a very limited sense of like who I could be or what I could do. You know, I grew up trying to distance myself from my own identity as much as possible. You know, I remember I used to wish that I was a white person just so I could be treated better by everybody else. So like, I guess, you know, for me, the AANAPISI office was able to address needs that I had denied for myself previously. You know, and introduced me to a community where being Asian American took on so many different forms, you know, that didn't embody any of the stereotypes that you're used to seeing, which was like huge mentally for me to like break some mental barriers about what I could do or who I could be. And, you know, as a student, for me, it allowed me to feel more comfortable in my own skin, which really allowed me to focus on my academics on a different level. And one of the biggest positives that came out of being in the program was I was able to take a bunch of Asian American classes, which I'd never been exposed to before. And that gave me a whole new context to, you know, Asian American history and my own identity. And that was really, really beneficial for me.
Great. Thank you, Gabe, for sharing. Keiko, how has attending an AANAPISI given you opportunities to take on some leadership roles on campus, as well as be an advocate for our community?
Well, attending an AANAPISI and working with AANAPISI, I found that I took on the role as the PI outreach coordinator. I initiated event programs in the spring and fall of 2022, and I did a lot of PR work. I developed a newsletter that provides relative information about PI events and resources. In spring, myself and some volunteers handed out a pick-me-up lunch plate for NHPI folks during the midterms and finals. This fall, I've started a weekly study group at the ARC Center to try and meet more PI students in a productive setting. And so all the events and the space provided by ARC has been made possible because of AANAPISI's support over the years at UIC. To answer the latter of your question, being at an AANAPISI, I find myself with opportunities to improve the advocacy and allyship for the Pacific Islander community. One of the focuses that I have with my events this year is to bring awareness to the detriment of aggregating the Asian American community and the Pacific community, whether that be in like data research or like conversations on issues that affect these communities. It's important to recognize that like we're referring to two very different groups with already much diversity within each of them. And we have to recognize that we are generalizing this massive diversity of people when we say Asian American, or Pacific Islander.
Thank you. And Gabe, can you tell us a little bit more about how attending an AANAPISI has influenced your career path as a current student advisor for your alma mater?
Yeah, I was essentially just inspired by the work that I saw our staff in the office doing. Like, I guess what was eye-opening was coming in every day and seeing like the same group of people like rely on the staff to be so many different things. Like, they wore so many different hats. Like, they're not just there for like advising, like they'll do like counseling, they're basically doing therapy for people. Like, you know, what I've realized is that there's a lot of issues in the Asian community and Asian American community that don't get talked about. And like, there's a lot of pressure from families on students to do certain things or fit into certain molds. So like, I realized that all these students have these like pent up anxieties and pressures that they're not able to express elsewhere. So they come here and that's their outlet. So like, I really respected all the work that the staff were doing. I saw the difference that it made in other people, but also myself. You know, like, I hated school for so long. And then like, I came here and like completely rekindled my passion for learning. So I was really motivated to pay it forward and help people like myself.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think what both of you have expressed is, you know, feeling connected and building that relationship and community with your peers in this space makes a difference, right? We talk about if you can't be it unless you see it. And I really have deep admiration for both of you for the work that you're just beginning, whether at the beginning of your college career or continuing to do post-college. Gabe, thank you. And I want to just give space before we sign off to both of you, if you have any final words that you want to share with this audience that's listening in to your experiences.
I just feel like one thing I'll say is, even I already mentioned it earlier, it's just like, it really is amazing to me, like how far community goes, like in just like a holistic manner. Like, having a community that's solid and consistent, it goes a long way for like other aspects of your life. Everything sort of falls into place. And I think it's underrated. Like, people don't really think that it matters. Like, oh, like, why are we funding like a program like this? We have so many other things we could be buying. But like, I just think that a lot of people don't realize the impact of having like solid, consistent relationships. So yeah, I really value the program. I think it's important.
Thank you, Gabe. Keiko?
I'd say that people should really understand the impact that by the way AANAPISI supported Asian American Studies in UIC has been somewhat inspirational because of how they were able to like implement like glass as a major. It kind of just, I know, it inspires me to think maybe that can also happen for like Pacific Islander studies. And so I just think like this support is so much necessary because it not only uplifts just one community, it just like, it also has like the pathway to like uplift other communities as well.
Great. Well, thank you both for making time to join this conversation, and truly look forward to seeing what more you both will do for our community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much to all of our speakers, panelists, and audience for being here today to celebrate the 15th anniversary of the AANAPISI program. As we heard from all of our participants, AANAPISIs play a unique role in supporting low-income, first-generation Asian American, Native Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander students by addressing their unique needs. AANAPISIs are also critical to reducing barriers to higher education and promoting the success of our AA and NHPI students. And we and the Biden-Harris administration are committed to continuing to advance educational equity for all Americans. So thank you again for joining us today. and happy AANAPISI Week.